Hi and welcome back. In today's video, we are going to be looking at how to deploy a static website on Apache. Apache happens to be among the most widely used open source web servers, and it powers millions of websites. In our previous videos, we saw how to deploy a static website on Nginx. So the steps to deploy the same on Apache Web Server varies slightly, and let us see how to achieve that. I already have access to a server whose IP shows here. Then we are also going to configure a domain name. All right, so this is the domain name that we are going to configure. Currently, it's not reachable, but once we set everything up, then we should be able to see our website here. And the website in question, this is the look and feel of the templates that we are going to be uploading. So for the nature of this website, it's basically HTML, CSS, and JavaScript together with some images. All right, so we are going to see how to achieve this. The first thing to start with is doing a DNS setup. It's a crucial step so that our domain is able to be viewed on our browsers. So what we need to do in terms of setting up the DNS for this domain, wherever you are managing the DNS for your domain name, you need to update the A record. Basically, the A record is the IP to the server on which you want to host your website. So in my case, this is the IP, and in here, I'm managing my DNS on cPanel. In case you are managing your DNS on any other platform, the process of setting up the DNS remains the same. So in my case, I only had to set the A record of my domain name. This is the domain, and I just needed to edit this, update the IP here, which happens to be the A record, then save that. All right, the other record that we need to confirm it's in place, it's the CNAME. So let me just press on that section, CNAME, then the CNAME for www. All right, so this CNAME should exist and points back to the domain name. So in your case, whichever DNS manager that you're using, ensure you have those two records. Once we set up the DNS records, we need to allow some times for this domain to propagate against the records that we have updated. So in the meantime, we are going to proceed with the rest of the steps as we allow propagation to happen. There are times that propagation delays, you can be able to monitor propagation from this website here. Just paste in your domain name and we are checking it against the record and press search. So if you see the new IP that you updated appears here, then this tells you that the domain has fully propagated. So what remains is setting up the web server and uploading the web content for this domain to be accessible online. All right, so in your case, if you just updated the records, you may not be able to view this here, so just give it time. All right, so the next thing that we need to do is to access our server. So it depends with where you purchased your server, and we are going to access our server on SSH. So the default way to do that, if you have the IP, you have the password and the username. If you have these three items, then you can be able to access that server on SSH. All right, so in my case, I have already provisioned an EC2 instance, and I'll be accessing my EC2 instance on this terminal. So just open your terminal or command line and access your server on SSH. All right, so in here, I'm already logged into my server. So the first thing will be to install Apache. And before installing Apache, we always need to update the package repository. There are times you may try to install a certain application or software, but because the package repository is not up to date, you get an error stating that probably whatever package you want to install is not found. So the first thing we do this, once the package repository has been updated, we then need to install Apache and the command to do that. So we have sudo apt install Apache 2. Then we add a flag here, -y, which simply overrides the question of whether to proceed. Alright, after a few seconds, Apache has been installed and we can just check on the status. So this is how to do it. So we are checking for the status and we see that Apache is up and running. All right, then we also see that Apache is enabled. So these are the next two things we would have done if at all Apache is not up and running. So we basically have to start Apache and also enable Apache to start automatically whenever this server reboots. But since we see it's in an active state and it's running and it's also enabled, then we do not need to execute those two commands. So once the installation has been completed, we can now check from our browser to confirm if we are able to see the default page. And there we go. All right. So by getting this, there's just a confirmation that Apache has properly been installed. All right. So the next thing is preparing our server to receive the website files that we want to upload. And before then, let us first of all check on where this page has been set up, right? The default path that has the files for this default website. So back to our server, let's navigate to var www and html, right? If we ls, so this is the file that has this content, right? So we can override this by just talking of sudo. Let me try to echo. Right, since we are getting permission denied, I can simply talk of let me just remove this file. Let me create another one. Exit, confirm, save. Right, let's go back to this page and load. We see the content has changed. So this is the default path. All right, so in our case, we are going to be creating a different directory to hold our application. And in this directory, this is where I'm going to create my custom directory. All right, so in case I have, say, 5 websites that I want to deploy, I just need to create some 5 folders here. All right, so this is the way to do it. All right. All right, so this will be my website directory. So the next thing that I need to do is to upload my website files under this directory. All right. So we have quite a number of ways to get your files from your local machine to the server. All right. In this video, I'll be making use of SCP. We may not have permissions to access this directory on SCP. So I'll be using an alternative method to get the files to the server, then copy them to this directory. So for now, I'll put it on top, then open a new tab. So this is a tab open in my local machine, and the files that we will be uploading are available here. So these are the files that we will be uploading. But again, the best way to upload files is by compressing them and uploading them as one file. So this is the file that we are going to be uploading to our server. All right, so the best way to do this, I just need to rename this file so that the name can be easy to reference. That's enough. Then in here, I just need to call that file. So remember, the folder that we have permission to copy a file from the local server to the online server, this is the directory in question. All right, this is the homepage of the current user. This user has the right to copy files into this folder. So we are going to first copy the files here, then move them to our root directory. All right, so let me have it on top. Right, back to downloads. So in here, I'll have scp So that's a command to used to copy. Then I'll have Apache. So that's the key pair, and especially when accessing the EC2 instance. Then I need to reference the path where the files that I need to copy to the server are. So those are in desktop, front-end templates, MediPress. So this is the path to the file that I want to copy. All right. I'll be copying the zip file. Then I mention the username at. All right. For those not using EC2, you can skip this section because you'll be prompted to input your password. So you can skip this section here. All right. So once I have this, then I need to specify here where I need to copy that file. Then I just need to input the path. So that is home and Ubuntu. All right. So once you have that, press enter. All right. And in less than a minute, we see the file has been copied 100%. All right. Then let me just go back to the server, quit, clear the screen. If I erase, we see the file in here. All right, so the next thing is moving this file from the current location to our root directory. So this is how to do it. All right, with just one command, our file has been moved from that location to this location in here. All right, so once the compressed file has been moved to the root directory, we need to unzip it. So this is the way to do it. All right, we see that the unzip module is not installed, so we need to install it. This is how to do it. Let's clear the screen. Let's run the command to unzip the file. If we ls, we see that the files have been extracted in a directory named MediPress, right? All right. So the next thing is moving the files from MediPress right directory to the current directory that we are in. All right. Because again, remember, we declared this as our working directory. So we need to have sudo MediPress. Then we have a star to indicate all the files, space, then a dot. So I need to mention sudo mv, then whatever is inside the MediPlus right directory to the current directory. All right. All right. So if we ls, we see our files in here. All right. So the next thing will be setting up the virtual host. The way to create a virtual host, this is the default location where virtual hosts are created. Right. So we have the default virtual host here. Let me just open it. Right. So this is the default of virtual host, but then I'll be using a slightly different one. I'll be creating a custom virtual host. Let me just do that. Let's use this. All right. So the virtual hosts are under etc Apache 2 sites available. Then input the name of your custom virtual host. So we need to add some lines of code here. So this is how the virtual host looks like, right? So in here, we just need to mention the domain name. All right. This is named server name. Then for server alias, then we should import the IP here. And the purpose of this IP is if we want to access the web application that we are setting up through the IP. Otherwise, if we leave the IP out, then the IP will still be showing this default website. All right. Then the next thing we need to update here. All right. Then the document root, we need to declare where our document root is. So if you remember, our document root is under var www, then we have the technologies. All right, once we set that up, I think that's enough for now. Just exit, confirm the save, and press enter. All right, so once we do that, the next thing that we should talk about is ennumbering the site from the config that we just edited and reloading Apache. So the way to enable the site that we just created by declaring this the virtual host in here, we have right. I think I created a typo here. I need to rectify that. So I need to have sudo, then I'll be moving that to just the same directory. That should be a H. All right. Then run the command to enable that site. All right. And we see that enabling site that. Then to activate the new configuration, we need to reload Apache 2. So this is the way to do it. All right. Then let me just put it on top. Go back to my IP here. Reload. And we see that we are able to see MediPlus. Right, it's loading and we see our page here. Doctors, now page, blog details. All right. The next thing we need to confirm is if we are able to access it from the domain name. Right. I need to remove the S. Right. Continue to site. And we see our website is also accessible from our domain name. All right, so the next thing we need to look at is we may not want users to access our website through this IP. All right, for the benefits of SEO and all that, we need to ensure that our website is accessible from the domain name. All right, so we need to edit and add some few lines of code that will ensure that whenever a user visits our website using the IP, they are redirected to the domain name. So let's go back and edit something. So in here, I need to edit. Let me have sudo. All right, I need to paste in these three lines of code. Then I need to copy this back here. So in here, I need to add my domain here. All right, once we have that, then we can just save this file. Right, on editing, we need to reload Apache. Let me clear the screen. So the command to do that, we have sudo systemctl reload Apache 2. All right, we have some errors. I think that error comes from this section. All right, there was that forward slash there. Save again. All right, let me try to reload. All right, still we got errors, so something is missing. So let me try. All right, we are trying to inspect the error logs for Apache, and we see we have an invalid command. Rewrite engine, perhaps it was misspelled. All right, so let's check on where this error is coming from. All right, just press on Q to move out of that loop. All right, so this should be okay. Let me just remove this forward slash here. Exit. So the reason why we are getting that error, it's because we have not activated or enabled the mode rewrite module. All right, and the way to do that, we have sudo. All right, once we do that, let's try to reload Apache 2. All right, so I did a typo. It should be Apache 2 without the Y. All right, so we see that it has been restarted successfully. We can also quickly check to be sure that Apache is up and running. Right, so these are the logs from the previous errors, but for now we see it's active and running. All right, so I just need to quit, then go back to our browser. So I'll take my IP and try accessing it from this incognito browser. All right, so let me do that, press enter. So let me just continue to site. All right, and we see we have been redirected to our domain name. The next thing to do is to set up SSL on our domain name. Remember, our domain name does not have SSL certificate installed. So in case I attempt to visit this domain name with HTTPS, let's see, right? We see that this site cannot be reached. All right, so we are going to set up SSL, and the way to do that, we need to install Python 3 certbot for Apache and also certbot application. All right, so let's go back to our terminal, and the way to set up SSL, just from any location within your server, just execute this command. All right, so it will install certbot and Python 3 certbot for Apache. All right, so once that has been installed, the next thing we need to do, we need to execute that command. So that initiates the SSL insurance process. Press enter, and in here we need to input the email address, right? So that we get notified on renewals and all that. So let's go. All right, then the next thing, let us just agree with the terms and conditions. Also, we can confirm that we would like to receive promotions and campaigns. All right, then we are told to mention the domain names that we would like SSL installed on. So in my case, I have 1 and 2 because I want to install it on the main domain and the www.domain. All right, and within a few seconds, SSL has successfully been installed and everything set up. So when I say everything, I mean they are the redirect code that whenever a user visits the insecure protocol, they should be redirected to the HTTPS form of that domain name. So let's review. All right, so if we review this file that we created, so we see that we have some other lines that have been added here for the purposes of redirecting the user to the HTTPS protocol. All right, so let's inspect our website here. So if I try to reload this website, we see we have been redirected to the secured protocol. All right, CSSL here. Then I can also do the same to this page. Let me just try visiting the blog details page, and we see we have been redirected to this page. All right, this other one, it's not reachable because it had initially no SSL installed, but if I reload as well, we see we have been redirected to the secure page. All right, so that's it. We have been able to install Apache web server, uploaded a website, configured a domain name, and installed an SSL certificate on our website. And that marks the end of this video. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, please do so. Also, drop your thoughts in the comment section and also share the love with your network. Bye for now.